Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Friends and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon to all of you. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for inviting me to speak on this important topic, Chinese intrusion in Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Chairman, Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte once said, China is a sleeping giant, let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will move the world. What that means is that the giant let the giant sleep, because if he wakes up, there will be problems for the region and the world. This giant woke up some decades ago, and many of problems of the region and the world are related to this giant or because of this giant. During this apparent sleep, China suffered humiliation and degradation of various kinds. However, for some decades, the rulers of China have started to assert China at the center stage of the world politics. No country can become great without economic muscle, and many wars in the world are started because of economic reasons. With the help of unprecedented economic growth and careful planning, China is emerging as a new superpower with intention to play a leading role in the world politics. Slowly but surely, they are asserting themselves in many countries and especially in Asia and its peripheries. China is on a mission to build a new kind of empire, which will be different to the empires of the past. China does not use gunboat diplomacy in its zeal to build an empire. Rather, they use their economic muscle and stringent conditions attached to the loans they provide to vulnerable client states. Also, they use coercion, cajoling, and diplomatic skills to achieve their targets. It was evident many years ago that China will not be able to sustain its economic growth. When things started going wrong, signs of this become visible not only to the local experts but also to the international experts. When I was doing a TV show in 2014, as an anchor, I asserted that China will slow down, but my guests at the time said that China is a very big economy and there are no signs of slowing it down. But in my humble capacity, I thought the Chinese economy had started slowing down, and there were clear signs of that. Whenever these signs appear, there are some consequences of that. And one is the flight of capital from the country, in this case, the China, and the foreign investment also stops. The scale of the problem can be judged by this fact that in 2016, an estimated 1 trillion US dollars were taken out of China. At that time, China's GDP was 10 trillion US dollars. In order to meet these challenges, China started One Belt, One Road and CPEC projects, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The idea was to boost the Chinese economy by using their production of cement and steel and to build infrastructure in other countries. Many countries got trapped in this debt trap, including our neighbor Pakistan. Mr. Chairman, with this short background, I want to examine China's recent intrusion in Ladakh, a region a legal and constitutional part of the former princely state of Jammu Kashmir. After the imperialist attack by Pakistan to capture Jammu Kashmir on 22nd of October 1947, the ruler of Jammu Kashmir was forced to seek help from India, which was only provided after he agreed to accede to India. Many citizens of Jammu Kashmir regard the entire forcibly divided state of Jammu Kashmir disputed. However, the fact remains that this region is administered and controlled by India. It is India's responsibility to protect this region and drive out all the invaders from Jammu and Kashmir and ensure that life and liberty and honor of all citizens is protected. Mr. Chairman, despite tension and some kind of squabbling on a line of actual control, the fact remains that there's a strong trade going on between both India and Pakistan. India and China, and uh, these squabbling or skirmishes on a line of actual control between India and China is ongoing thing, and to some people it's a normal thing, but it can escalate. There are chances. But what I want to point out here is that despite these disagreements and standoffs on line of actual control, according to CNN, the trade between China and India in 2019 was 87 billion US dollars. 87. Chinese investment in India is 26 billion US dollars. In the field of telecom, China is a big player in India. Out of 5 big companies which sell smartphones in India, 4 are owned by China. And these companies in 2019 they earned 16 billion US dollars. Main focus of both countries is economic growth, and both want to avoid a disastrous military clash that can ruin their economies. In a nutshell, the Chinese intrusion in Ladakh is not related to economic interests. Mr. Chairman, other possible reasons for the Chinese intrusion. Whenever legitimacy and power of the ruling elite is questioned, or they feel they need to divert attention of the people, they start boosting nationalism to control dissent and muster support of the people. In this context, some people claim China is facing many domestic and international challenges, and a war-like situation can help to divert attention from many problems and muster support by drumming up Chinese nationalism. China has serious challenges of international magnitude in the South China Sea. There are serious problems with the economy, with Belt and Road Initiative and the CPEC. Also, there are serious challenges in Hong Kong and in various parts of China. India also has a number of domestic and international challenges. A war-like situation suits both countries. The Chinese experts assert that this war-like situation developed because of the Indian foreign policy and support of America in the new Cold War between China and America. Global Times, a state-owned Chinese daily, in its recent report advised India not to engage and get embroiled in the larger US-China confrontation, as that could be detrimental for the Indian economy and its interest in the region. A section of Chinese policymakers think present Sino-India China standoff is an outcome of India's willingness to toe the US line on China, rather than one of many border disputes that have emerged between the two countries since the demarcation of territories after the Sino-Indian War in 1962. The Chinese experts advise India to formulate their China policy independent of America, that both countries can resolve the issues diplomatically and establish peace in this region. Mr. Chairman, we need to look at the Chinese game plan. In my humble opinion, China is playing a dangerous game. While there can be some merits in all the reasons pointed above, I think China has other motives to assert its claim and invade a territory that does not belong to them. As noted above, Ladakh is part of Jammu and Kashmir, and the Security Council resolution of 13th of August 1948 allowed India to maintain its troops in the areas of Jammu and Kashmir under their control. It means, in the eyes of the international community, the presence of the Indian troops in that region is legal, and it is their responsibility to protect these areas. India was building some roads in Daulat Beg Oldie strategic camp area to strengthen their defenses. This was known to the Pakistanis and the Chinese intelligence. They thought if the new infrastructure is built as planned, that could help India to attack Siachen and Gilgit-Baltistan and possibly take over this region in future. That was a nightmare scenario for both Islamabad and Beijing. Surely both of them have economic and strategic interests attached to this region. If India was to take over Gilgit-Baltistan, that would have been a very serious blow to the interests of Islamabad and Beijing. It is believed that in view of this looming threat, the Chinese intrusion was a preemptive measure to stop India completing its planned infrastructure. India was building this infrastructure on their side of the demarcation. China has no right to invade a territory that does not belong to them. Although India and China, under the rules of engagement on the line of actual control, cannot use weapons, still there have been casualties on both sides. It is believed that India has lost 20 soldiers and Chinese casualties is more than 30. Despite a number of meetings, the issue has not been resolved. China stands by with its claim over the Galwan Valley and India rejects it. China is determined to establish an observatory post at the side of the Galwan River. The objective of that is to keep an eye on what India is doing or may do in future in this region. India, for obvious reasons, does not agree with that and the disagreement will continue with its dangers and tension. It is sad to note that some naive citizens of Jammu Kashmir were dancing up and down that China has invaded Ladakh. They were happy that India was punished. These people are anti-national who work against the interests of our motherland, Jammu and Kashmir. These are the people who betrayed their oath to the Maharaja of Jammu Kashmir and helped the neighboring country to attack and invade Jammu Kashmir in 1947. As a result of this tragedy, Pakistan occupied so-called Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. India and Pakistan are recognized parties to the Jammu and Kashmir dispute, and in presence of these two countries, we people of Jammu and Kashmir are not represented anywhere at the international level. With these countries being party to the Jammu and Kashmir dispute, we have suffered since 1947. Just imagine how difficult it will be if we drag in China and make this giant a party to the dispute. With addition of China, the Jammu Kashmir dispute will become more complicated and more difficult to resolve. Surely it will add to our miseries and suffering, and it will endanger the peace and security of this region. Mr. Chairman, I thank you.